another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show with Yolanda and Smith, the Drunkardist. You know, I love to read, and I was reading this book, Peering Through the Pain, A Journey from Suppression into Liberation. And I had to reach out to the author of this particular book, and luckily she took the invitation to come in to the studio and focus on this book. And not only about the book, but the inspiring journey of coming from an Amish community, traveling miles away from something that she grew up in, a community, a village that she left, started her own journey, and she's here to share that story on the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. I'm happy to have in the studio the soon-to-be world-famous author, Miss Katie. Come on, Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me, Andre and Yolanda.
Okay.
I'm Katie Miller. I'm author of Peering Through the Pain. And as you said, I grew up Amish in a small town called Charm in Ohio. Grew up Amish, lived there, went to 8th grade, joined the Amish church, became born again later, and then left and moved to Phoenix, Arizona, to a big city of just busyness and no green grass. So, but yeah, it's been quite a journey.
So, Amish, that's big. We're in Indiana, Ohio,
Right.
Pennsylvania. We're in what was called the belt
Right.
of Amish community. Well, you say you was born in it, so is this generational Amish community that you're born in?
Yes, my first ancestors came over from Switzerland actually in late 1800s, and I'm like the 9th generation. So they moved to Pennsylvania and then migrated west to Ohio.
So what's it like being an Amish, growing up Amish? We hear stories. I see the horse and buggies. I hear the rumors. We can't have cars. We can't have lights. We can't have
Electricity.
What is it like?
I didn't know any different, but we read a lot of books, so we were not completely isolated. And my mom had a fabric shop, so I was exposed to what we called, anybody that wasn't Amish was called English.
Okay.
So I was exposed to a lot of different people, not just my community, but there were probably some Amish people that were just exposed to their people. So I was always curious, why this, why that. I'm the middle child, so I would push.
Yeah, you got the curiosity when you're the middle child, right?
Yep.
So you have a brother and sister?
I have an older brother and a younger sister.
How do they feel? What was it like with them? Did you guys ever sit around and see, you had interactions with individuals that came and bought your products, goods and services, and I'm pretty sure some of us are able to come into the community and trade or buy
Right.
goods and services. Were there ever any questions among the siblings? The different lifestyles that was coming in versus you guys' lifestyle? I'm pretty sure they walked in with cell phones and music, and you guys was like, what is that?
Yeah, like I said, we had no electricity. We had running water. There's some Amish that don't even have running water in the house.
Really?
No toilets, so you know what that means.
Outhouse?
Outhouse. Thankfully, we had a toilet, shower. We still had what we thought were modern conveniences. Obviously, no cell phone, and we had to use the neighbor's phone, which was an old rotary dial phone and stuff. So
did you guys ever sit down and communicate amongst each other about the world? Let's call it what it is, the world. You got to have some curiosity. You're young.
Well, we saw vehicles go by, but you grow up without them. You go with horse and buggy or bicycle. When those were allowed, those weren't even allowed at one time. So, they do let their people have more and more things. But I don't know, we read a lot of books, so we read of other parts of the world and other cultures and stuff. But I don't know that we ever really, as siblings, my sister's 8 years younger, so she and I never would have, but my brother and I don't know, I'm sure we were like curious about a radio. I know he bought one at like before he was 16. 16 is kind of the age where you can, they let you try the worldly things, but he got one at age 15, and then the volume button got messed up, so he took it to get it repaired, and the guy put it on backwards, so when you turn it on, it was really loud. So we were always afraid our parents would hear
Right.
the radio, so we had to, kind of keep stuff hidden in the closet.
So you mentioned, I saw the reality show. How much truth to that is it?
I'm sure there is a lot that's not truth. I mean, it has to be, it's written, it's a script, so you have to follow what.
But you said that you guys are able to purge, to go out, and give the viewers a little bit about what that means for an Amish.
So when you turn 16, you're allowed to do your Rumspringa years. You go sow your wild oats because they want all of that out of your system. Then they expect you to come back and join the Amish church, and then there's nothing like that anymore. So I got my driver's license. I never had a car, but my brother got a car. I drove his car. I got my hair cut. I had it long enough to keep it up in a bun, keep it covered with the white
Is it against the
covering.
law to cut your?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
It is. Yeah, I got my ears pierced.
Is that against the law?
Oh, goodness.
There's a lot of things against the law in the
Yes.
Amish community. Then.
Yes. Yeah. But I had to, it's so funny because you have to have the studs in for like 2 weeks, to keep the hole. So I would wear a scarf to try to keep them covered so that I could still work in the fabric shop. I'm sure my mom saw them, but.
Yeah, but if you're able to go out and, let's call it what it is, sow your oats, act
Right.
crazy, does it really matter that you went out and got this done?
Well, I was always, like I said, pushing the boundaries and
Okay.
challenging everybody. So I was the rebel kind of
Okay.
yeah, I wore jeans and went to movies and, got drunk, and thankfully I didn't get into drugs, which is unfortunately among the Amish kids too, or was back in the day.
So you go out and what did you learn when you did this? What was the difference? And all of a sudden you're out and you're being wild. You see in the world. Evidently, they allow you to do this. What's the reason for allowing you to do this? If they're trying to keep you in the community, is there a method in this?
I think that they just want you to get that out of your system so that you don't leave later on when you join the Amish church, that you don't want that. But I don't know. I think sometimes if you had a car later on, you're like, oh, man, car's a lot faster than a horse and buggy. So
got that right.
yeah, I want a car,
600 horsepower is a lot better than 1 horsepower.
Absolutely.
So which direction did you take? What did you learn when you went out for that trial run at 16 years old?
Well, I liked all the modern conveniences. I liked the movies, and I liked my haircut. I liked wearing jeans.
Really?
Yeah. But then I met my husband-to-be at a bar, and he had a car. And then we talked about whether we wanted to just leave at that point and not go back. But he was from, there's 7 kids in his family. He was the middle child as well. And he would have been the first one to leave. So he said, I can't do that to my mom. His mom was really straight. She was, you can't hurt mom. You can't disappoint mom. So you got to stay Amish. Mm-hmm. So he sold the car, and we got horse and buggy and joined the church. And then a year later, we got married. And then we had two kids, 2 boys. And then 10 years later, he wanted a car. And I'm like, I can't leave for just a car because you get shunned, excommunicated. They talk about you.
Let's go. Let's hold that thought for a minute. Okay. So you're going to church, and all of a sudden, you want to change your life, and they go, we're gonna talk about you. Mm-hmm. We don't want to have. when you say excommunicate, so if you decide to leave,
Mm-hmm.
and this is your family and your friends,
Mm-hmm.
generations of Amish community, you can't come back.
You can, but you get treated worse. Almost, you get you're kind of like an outcast when you come back. When you leave, and you can't make it in the world because most of them have an eighth grade education. So, what are you supposed to do except just manual labor somewhere? You don't have a mechanic. You work on the farm or you work in the wood shop. So you have to make sure that you can support your family.
And you're a female, so you're not working in the wood shop.
No, I'm
You're
not.
not a mechanic. You're not. What is your job when you're a female in an Amish
You're
community?
a housewife.
Milking.
Well, yeah, you do that too if you live on a
My name
farm.
is Izakiah. Do you need any horseshoeing or?
Right. Well, not for women. No, they clean the house. They keep the house in.
So they
order.
make it where basically you don't have the ability to go out there into the new world to fit in anyway.
Right. Because you don't know any. You're just a housewife.
So you
Raise
guys
kids.
decided to make the journey, but you have no skills. Eighth grade education. What's his educational grade?
My husband's.
Yeah.
He was eighth grade as well. He worked at a wood shop.
How do you guys navigate? Tell me what happened when you decided to leave, and why did you decide to leave? That's a two-part question.
When you're Amish, it's fear-based. So they tell you if you leave, you go to hell or you can't get to heaven. So obviously,
Let's roll this back. Rewind, rewind here. So you go into a church,
Yeah.
and the church tells you if you leave, you're going to hell.
Well, they don't make it that plain because they really don't talk about hell, but they make it known that the chances of you getting to heaven are slim.
What's their religious like? What is their religion belief like? I'm really curious now.
They in church, they read the German Bible, and the songs are sung in German, High German, and the prayer is done in High German. So they want you to read that. That is not our language. Our language is Pennsylvania Dutch. So we had to be taught High German in school so that we were able to read and understand. And then they want you to read that Bible. Well, if you don't understand that Bible, well, you're just you don't know what's going on.
So there's
they
another
don't
Bible that
want-
you guys read besides
They
the
don't.
King James Version?
Well, no, it's King James, but it's in German.
Okay.
They don't want you to read the English Bible because then you would understand and you might leave the faith because you might get led astray. But the Bible is the truth and the way and the light. God is, so they don't want you to do that because they believe in God, but in a God, but he's a fear-based God, like a
Explain.
controlling God, like you can do this, that, and that, but you can't do this, the other, or the other. You can't have a car, you can't have electricity, because the harder you work here on earth, the greater your reward in heaven. That's work-based faith. So
if I work hard here to get a car, I'm not doing it right. I need to basically milk cows, build my house from the ground, from scratch,
yeah.
not enjoy the convenience of evolution. And if I do, then I'm going to hell.
No, you're going to heaven because you had it hard here on earth.
Oh, I'm going to heaven if I have it hard here.
Right.
Okay.
So that's kind of where that comes from. But I got born again, and I saw the truth, and the truth set me free. And I knew that I didn't have to stay in that belief system, cult, whatever. I went to church one time after I was born again, and I was just like, wow, how can they? I wanted to go up and tell the preacher, you're lying. You're not speaking the truth, so. But
So then after this happens, your eyes become open. You share this did you share all this information with your husband at the time?
We started a Bible study, and I became born again through that. He didn't go to the Bible study every time, but he and my mom saw the difference, and they thought I was lost my mind. But they, you know,
So then what happens? You find this new awakening, you're married, you got your kids. How were you when you decided to make this pilgrimage? Let's call it what it is, a pilgrimage. You're still what we might consider unskilled, unqualified, limited resources, and you want to make a journey somewhere else. How old were you, and what was the journey, and what was the reason for making the journey outside of the fact that you got a new awakening?
right. So my mom, I worked at the fabric shop. My mom passed away in 2005, and she wanted my sister and I to keep running the fabric shop, and we were like, "Yep, nope, we grew up in it. We're done. We want to do what we want to do."
So much for generational.
It's still going.
Okay.
It's 58 years old.
Okay.
But I wanted to, well, yeah, like Ohio, what else is there to do besides be a nurse if you're a female and or a male? It doesn't matter, but there's not.
Right.
And I didn't know all the jobs out there. I just knew nursing. So I'm like, I got my GED at age 41. And that fall, I started college. I did 4 years of prereqs part-time while working at a nursing home, raising the kids. And I got into the nursing program. And then 2 weeks into the nursing program, I found out my husband had an affair. And I don't know, just the wind just kind of went out of my sails. And I wasn't sure where I was going to be in a year. I had to reapply if I wanted to become a nurse. But I became an EMT the following year, and I really liked that. And then we took counseling, we tried, but I just felt like it was never resolved. He was into porn too, and I could never compete. I just, I don't know, it was just.
So your self-worth just went completely bonkers.
Yeah.
How old were you when you decided to leave the Amish community? Had you left the Amish community yet?
Yeah, we had left already.
So where did you wind up going when you left the Amish community? Where was your
So our
destination?
oldest son, my youngest son moved to Florida when he was 19, and then the oldest one moved to Phoenix, Arizona, out of college. And we decided to make a fresh start, so we sold the house, and my husband and I both moved to Phoenix, also. And
Why Phoenix? You got 50
well,
states.
I know we were so over snow. No more snow. We're done shoveling.
Okay.
So, but I'm kind of over the heat now too. So I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. But
So you wind up going to Arizona. What skills are you taking there now? You're in Arizona. You're still married, correct?
yes, yeah. And I had no educate. Well, I had the college that I left behind,
Right.
no degree, and I looked around at different jobs, but they didn't pay a whole lot. So I'm like, I can't do that. So I went back and I found a phlebotomy class that was like 5 months. I have to do something quick. I can't be in school
Well,
forever
if
at
you
this
can't do
age.
nothing, do phlebotomy. Nothing
Right.
wrong with taking a little
Right.
blood out of somebody's arm.
So I became a phlebotomist, and then they had medical lab assistant classes. So I took that, and I interned at a lab where they did drug testing for the Department of Child Safety. And in that time frame, my supervisor said, "Hey, you only need 60 credit hours to get an associate." I'm like, "Oh, I wonder how many I have." And I had 56 credit hours sitting there from all my
Go
nursing.
for the rest of them. Right.
So I did. Yeah, I did. I got my Associate of Science.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, I was reading the book, and there was a lot of trauma in this book towards the transformation, abuse in the relationship. Tell me a little bit about that and how you overcame that. What was the signs and so forth? How did you navigate? You first of all, are you excommunicated from your family back home? So you really don't have a support system back home as well.
Well, my brother and sister are no longer Amish, and my parents have passed away, but I am still excommunicated. They never lifted that. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and it's okay. I know whose I am. I'm a daughter of the King. So it doesn't matter if they have that from the church, it's the Amish, it's their thing, and that's okay because I know I'm not a part of that anymore, and I know who I am.
So you was talking about in the book the trauma. Let's talk about that a little bit, about the abuse that you was going through with your spouse at the time. You stayed with him. You tried to make it work. You guys went to counseling. When did the abuse take place?
Well, it was verbal. It was verbal abuse, and even like verbal can be.
Just as detrimental as putting the hands on
Well,
somebody.
yes, it is because you
Yeah.
hear it
Yeah.
over and over in your mind, and it's almost worse than physical. I mean, unless you get broken bones or get killed or something. But yeah, it can ruin you. It can put you in a cocoon, and your self-worth is you're nothing. You're nobody.
When did this happen? When did this start to take place?
All throughout the marriage, 27 years.
Did you bring it up in your counseling sessions?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What was the outcome? What did the counselor
He
say?
accused me of cheating, and all the while he's the one that was doing the cheating. He tried to tell our pastor that I'm the one that was cheating, and pastor told him, "No, I am not. I would never cheat. I'm not that. I'm not that kind of woman. I have one man, and that's it. Whether I get treated like shit or not, but." I know now that I'm not staying in a marriage for 27 years again, But it took my oldest son at 25 to tell me, kids see what you're going through, whether you like it or not, or you try to hide it from them. And my son at 25.
Did you notice that your kids were seeing it, or were you walking around
No.
with blinders?
Both. I mean, kind of, you just walk around with blinders and hope they don't see it.
Were they part of the abuse as well, or was it just isolated to you?
No, there was when my oldest son was young. My husband, beat him. That's beat him with a bicycle cable, and my son brought it up when he was in college. His dad never told him sorry.
How do you
So
move from that? And I appreciate you coming on telling this story. I read the book. I know the pain that went into writing this book. We'll talk about it in a minute, but let's move forward a little bit. How do you maneuver and get out of this situation? Your son tells you that, later dad beat him with a bicycle chain and probably a heck of a lot of other things. When do you make the connection to say enough is enough?
Well, it took my son. I knew that our marriage was horrible, but I also know how women feel when they can't leave because what is known to them is easier than what is unknown. Because if you don't have an education, you move away. What's going to happen? So you stay with the known. But it took my son at 25 years old to tell me, Mom, you make a date and you tell him it's over. You deserve better. And when your 25-year-old son tells you that, you have to do that. And it's the best decision that I ever made. So if your kids tell you that, listen. If they don't tell you that, take the initiative yourself. Just get out of that relationship. I mean, if it's...
Some people say that's easier said than done. What do you say? What do you say?
It is, because of the unknown, the fear of the unknown. Do I have enough education? Do I have the means to support myself? And if I have a bunch of small kids, but there's crisis centers, there's help out there. I mean, get away from that abusive relationship because that's not how life is meant to be lived.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
But even more proud, when did the inspiration to the book start?
A couple years ago, I just felt God telling me to write the book, and I'm like, I'm not an author. I kept telling him, just like, write the book, and I'm like, I'm not an author. Write the book. I'm like, okay.
You was hearing something.
Okay, I said, and I'm like, ooh, who am I to tell my creator what I can and can't do?
Okay.
And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, okay, I'll write the book. So I said, you're going to have to help me. And he did. I just, if you have so much hurt and pain. Over the years, I did Mending the Soul. I did talk to counselors. I did this, that, the other just to help me.
Right.
But I thought I was over my dad. My dad died when I was 15. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, so my childhood wasn't the greatest either. So girls and dads have a bond. I had a dad, but I didn't have the bond. So I just, I thought I was over him. But man, when I started writing, I cried.
Really?
Cried and cried and cried. It was just
What did you call it? Garbage?
vomit dump.
Vomit dump.
My son called it a vomit dump. 27-page vomit dump.
Your son read the book.
He didn't read the book yet, but he read the vomit dump, and
Okay.
the book is just expanding from the vomit dump.
What was the main part of the book? You mentioned before we started the show, we communicated, and I read the book. There's a lot of suffering in this book. Was there a moment in writing this that you said, I can't do it? Because you in the first couple of pages, you talk about your dad. You had to take a break. You probably was like, you know what, this is too much pain.
Not really. It felt good. There was a release. It was just a release of all the gunk that was in my life.
What's the most impactful part of the journey in this book for you?
I think moving here, getting the divorce, and learning who I was. I didn't know who I was. I had no clue. But I've done some amazing things. I've gone skydiving 3 times. I've hot air ballooned. I've whitewater rafted twice. Adventure has my name written all over it. And I love who I have become.
When you look at this book, A Journey from Suppression to Liberation, you definitely are speaking about the liberation part of your journey. What's in store for Katie Miller next? What's the journey? What's the end game here?
There is going to be another book. I am motivational speaking.
Okay.
To help women know that there is hope and healing from bondage.
How can the viewers reach out to you? How can they get this book?
The book is on Amazon, and my website is peeringthroughthepain.com. My Instagram is Peering Through the Pain by Katie Miller, and then I have an email, ktmillerbooks@gmail.com.
Leave the viewers with an inspirational quote that only Katie Miller can say.
Never give up. Never, ever give up. Live life to the fullest, because life is short.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show.